As I know we are live, and it's before lock. Even though we are called the DFS Strategy Show, we like to zing. We like to just be a little bit different, Jake and I, because that's our one commonality. He's like 12 and I'm like 72. So it's what is that? 18 going on 81 or whatever. Some movie about that. Yeah.
Is that me? Sorry, I was
Well,
muted.
oh yeah, you'd be 18 and I'd be 81.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Yeah. Sometimes I wish I was still 18, but um, I don't know. Kind of like where I'm at right now. So 81 seems quite a bit away from me.
It does. It does. Let's hit that tweet out there. We can retweet that and get some followers in here. We got 6 games, 7:15 start. So, of course, we are going a skosh later. Jake and I will be building lineups. It looks like we are... Well, Jake will be pushing a button because he's smart. I will be building lineups because I do not plan ahead. Looks like the Nationals in San Diego is the only lineup we are missing. So that's good. That makes it relatively easy. We do have the one in from the... doubleheader, so that is nice. We're going to go game by game just to give you our thoughts and stay organized while we are doing some fun stuff. Anybody else having a little issue there with Yahoo? I keep entering my teams and it saves them, but it comes up with the screen saying, something is wrong. Let's all go to the lobbies. Our engineers are working on it. Blah blah blah. Anybody else getting that? Let me know. Because I've got some lineups that need to be built. Jake, they're not going to build themselves. Now, fortunately, I have a placeholder lineup in that I'm okay with, but 3 of our games start at 7:15, so we really don't want to screw around with that. So we'll wait a moment or two and get a couple more people to join us here. In the meanwhile, I am going to remind everybody to go to my pinned tweet over here on the old Twitter, and I will drop that link in chat. You can go there and you can sign up for the Awesemo DraftKings League, and once you've joined that league, you'll have access to the contest, the Fred Van Vliet Awesemo Plus giveaway contest. It's just $1. It must fill to run. There's 33 in there now, so it looks like we should get 17 people between now and Monday, I would hope. But if you win that and have an Awesemo avatar, you will get 30 free days, 30 complimentary days of Awesemo all access content. That does not include the Fantasy Cruncher add-on, but it is 30 free days of everything, and you do get Slack. For those of you that want to know how to get the Awesemo avatar, I'm going to drop in this link in chat, which also explains that if you get a top 3 in any contest of 5,000 or more, read the details. And you have an Awesemo avatar, and you tweet Awesemo, tag me in it if you want, and then I can help get that working behind the scenes. But you can win a free 30 days as well. So it's always good to have some options here. Always good to have some options. All right. We're up to about 200 people or so, I'm guessing. Close? Are we close to 200 yet?
We're over, actually. People come for you, man.
Oh, I'm not so sure about that. I think they come for Josh.
That's true. And they all the time. Where's Josh? No Josh? What happened to Josh?
I know.
Josh doesn't stream on Saturdays because we don't need him to be quitting streaming for 6 months straight.
Yeah, it's funny. He gets the day off, but then he's ever present, omnipresent, if you will.
I know.
Regardless. So he's making the shows for us behind the scenes, getting the artwork up, doing all that, doing scheduling, variety of stuff. We all wear many hats here at Awesemo. Customer service, yes. Bookkeeping, sure. Scheduling, you betcha. Editing, yeah. So there you go. It's not all shows and articles, as some would like to think. But let's jump in here. I'll get my stuff ready, and then I'll worry about building these lineups during the show. We've got the Dodgers. We've got San Francisco. Starting lineups for both. The Dodgers are coming in hot with a 5.2 implied run total. Speaking of hot, it's almost 80 degrees in San Francisco. Actually, it is 80 degrees right now, but it'll dip down just a little bit to 78 or 79 here at first pitch. You have Rich Hill coming off 2 100-plus pitch outings going against Jeff Samardzija. 3.4 implied run total for San Francisco, and Rich Hill is going to be your counter move to Max Scherzer because he is just a little bit cheaper on all the sites. In particular, the savings you can get from him on Yahoo as I'm building those lineups, that extra $9 from 60 to 51 really frees some stuff up because I don't want to play Eric Lauer tonight. So talk to me a little bit here about Rich Hill, and then we'll expand to the other players.
Fine spot for Rich Hill. the problem I have with him is, specifically playing on draft. If you're playing on DraftKings tonight, I did not get to any shares of him actually in my best 150 of the crunch that I did right before this. And
Wait, zero?
I got to know Rich Hill.
Hell no.
So we'll see. I mean, he's supposed to be over 20% owned, so I'm fine taking that stand. Like, I just feel like if I'm getting up to that range, I'm going to Scherzer. And honestly, I'm not going to Scherzer as much as the field is. So the bats are going to be the main priority for me tonight, as they usually are. And Hill, while I love his team, I think he probably gets a win here. Vegas would tend to agree. He's a minus 215 favorite. It's in a good park against a not great team, but he's just too expensive for what I'm trying to do tonight.
You know what's funny? I rarely mention the implied Vegas odds anymore, because I think, to me, wins are just so random is not the right word, but they are very hard to predict, especially when you consider even if you're playing both pitchers in the same game, which I'm going to in the next one with Jack Flaherty and John Lester, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But even so, the average major league starting pitcher gets a win about a third of the time. Because you remember there's two pitchers, so only one win. So right away you're down. But if you play both pitchers in the game, you still only have about a 40, maybe a 45% chance of getting the win. Because if they come out when the game's tied, so they might get a no decision. If the bullpen gives up the lead or regains it, etc., they lose the right to the win there. And that's something that is just getting harder and harder to predict with any sort of confidence, because there's just so much bullpen action these days, Jake. So much.
Right. I was going to say, like, you're not seeing pitchers go 125. You're not seeing them qualify for the win a lot of the time. And even getting to 5 innings, especially if you're not in the top, the upper echelon of pitchers. So like Hill's one of those guys who's had trouble going deep, and you kind of need the win or massive strikeout upside for this price on DraftKings specifically. So we talked about him going 104 and 111 his last two, but that doesn't mean he's not going back to 84 tonight, which is what he was 4 starts ago. He was at 93 starts ago, and I'm just not that interested. I mean, he had a couple nice starts. If he gets you 10 Ks in 6 innings, yeah, I'm going to be wrong, but Scherzer's a guy I just have way more confidence in. So if I'm going up to the top, it is going to be Scherzer.
All right, and that makes sense. Ooh, that lineup successfully saved. So 7 more to go for me. Looking at the hitters here, how heavy are you on the Dodgers going against Jeff Samardzija?
Yeah, they're my highest owned stack. So it's kind of a throwback to last year when I just stacked the Dodgers every slate, it seemed like. But yeah, so a couple of their hitters are chalky, Muncy and Turner I'm looking at. But outside of those two guys, and I think everyone, they're just obvious value. But like, I'm way up there on Bellinger, who's 5,600. I'm way up on like Jock, 5,100. So I just love the Dodgers. You don't often see a 5.2 implied total in this park, and Samardzija cannot miss bats with any sort of ease. And the Dodgers stacking up 5 out of the first 6 left-handed bats, all with huge power. I know it's not a good park for power, but they are, I think, my favorite stack on the night.
Yeah, they're definitely up there. For me, it's kind of the Nationals, but we don't have that lineup yet, so I'm not sure where I'm going to land. I'm okay with the Mariners, but they're missing. I figured Murphy wouldn't start tonight, but they're also not playing. Oh, I'm blanking on his name. Tim, not Tim, Beck. Is it Beck? No, it's Tim. Oh, whoever the hell their shortstop is that hits lefties well. He's not in the lineup.
Tim Beckham?
Yeah, is it Tim Beckham? Yeah.
Okay. For the
Mariners. For the Mariners.
For the Mariners. Yeah, Beckham.
Okay, there's another, and I'm never get old, Jake. It's no fun. There's another Tim that hits lefties well. That's a shortstop, and at one point, one of them played for the White Sox, and I always get them confused because
Anderson.
Tim Anderson. Thank you. The way my brain, blah blah blah. It's dyslexia, but the way my brain works, how I remember certain things, the Tim stands out for both of them, and then I can't remember the last name, and I know there's 2 of them, but I don't. Then I move down, don't remember which is which. It's a bear. It's a bear. Don't wish that on anybody. And the numbers are not fun either. Ever try being an accountant when you have trouble keeping the numbers straight? It can be a little difficult, Jake. can be
Oh,
a
I'm
little
sure.
difficult.
That doesn't sound like my area of expertise. I'll leave that to you.
Yeah, no.
The
So
numbers.
when you guys hear me, I say, "Oh, I apologize, I'm getting it backwards." When I read the numbers, sometimes I'll say the second or third one. I see it correctly, but I don't. It doesn't make all the connections. So anyway, that's my fun little thing that I have. So you don't have to worry about that. In any event, love the Dodgers. I concur. Heavy run total here. Jeff Samardzija, not as excited with him as I thought I was going to be. I think I'll be getting about 10% of him on DK. I don't know that I'll probably have one lineup, so that would be 10% on Yahoo as well, just for a little bit of salary savings there. But if I'm going to do that on Yahoo, I'm going to go with the double punt, something like Samardzija and probably Steven Matz. And if I'm going to go with Samardzija, wouldn't it be better just to get up there to John Gray? I don't know. Any of the Giants hitters standing out to you against Rich Hill? Perhaps an Evan Longoria or a Tyler Austin, maybe a Kevin Pillar, who is 7 on Yahoo.
I like the Pilar call. I got to some Donovan Solano. It is batting 8th just because he's 2,400 dual position eligibility, so he makes it work when I'm trying to go to expensive stacks. But the highest guy I got was Kevin Pillar, and I don't really see that changing. It's not a good spot against Rich Hill. He is a good pitcher, but he's just overpriced. So that's why I'm not getting to him, of course. Got a few Longoria shares. They'll come up in like mini stack form just because Hill is getting some ownership. But the Giants aren't a team I'm going out of my way to full stack by any means.
All right, and that makes a fair amount of sense because look at the implied run total. Yes, it is a tiny bit better hitting weather than we see in San Francisco, but going against Rich Hill, who has an excellent strikeout rate, is a tall order there. It's a tall order. Let's continue along here on to our next game. That is going to be the Redbirds going against the Cubbies. We have a light breeze coming in from 8 to 10 miles an hour from right field. 3.9 implied run total for the Cardinals, 3.7 for the Cubs. I am actually on Yahoo doing the Flaherty Lester stack. Sorry, my dog now wants to go out of the room. She wanted to come in before. Now she wants to go out. Why she does that during the show? Hey, she wants a little time on air. But I am not fired up for any of the hitters here in this game. Flaherty is a really good pitcher. I like the price tag at 41 on Yahoo. Lester has been very good lately as well. I do like him at 37, so that's affording me a lot of the Dodgers bats, which is helpful because if you're trying to get in Bellinger, Muncy, Turner, those guys are all 20-ish or higher. So you need to have that lower cost average of your players here. So for me, it's mostly pitchers. I am getting to on Yahoo. Jose Martinez is 7. He's batting 5th. It's the righty-lefty matchup. Harrison Bader is 10. That's not horrible either. And then Goldie at 15. He's a noted lefty masher. And then Paul DeJong at 11. So there's your little 4 or 5 man stack. You want to put in Marcell Ozuna as well. You're hoping that Lester implodes and then the Chicago bullpen implodes. And that's like trying to get 2 things right. And it's hard because it's 70 degrees, wind blowing in, and just a 3.9 implied run total. So going there, they're reasonably priced. It will be contrarian, but it's not the highest upside stack. How are you approaching this game? I'm assuming you're taking a similar approach with the pitching.
Yeah, I got both of these guys just under 30%. So right around where they're at. Those 2 aren't guys I'm taking major stands on, but I do see a path for success for both of them on DraftKings for their prices. Flaherty, just a guy with a little bit more strikeout upside, I think, than Lester at this point in his career. But as I mentioned earlier, Lester has been striking out righties at a pretty good rate. I think 23 or 24%, somewhere around there. I can't remember. And I don't have FanDuel up right now, but it is above average. I know that. And tough lineup for the Cardinals, but I think tough spot with Lester in this bullpen. If I was going after them, I think I would agree. I think I would just full stack it against Lester because you're getting quite a bit of leverage off of a pretty chalky guy. Flaherty is not a guy I would want to stack against. I would look for some of this lefty power and take Schwarber and Rizzo, but not getting too much of either of these offenses.
Yeah, and I'm actually okay with not having a ton on this one. We'll see where my crunches come out when I get to those. There's no real reason for me to hit that button yet because one, I'm still building some Yahoo lineups, and two, without the Nationals who are going to play a large part of my night tonight, I really don't want to go there. I mean, the guys I'm pretty sure that are going to be in for the Nationals are Suzuki because I think Yan Gomes has caught the last 2 days. Brian Dozier should be in there. He's having a resurgent year against lefties, but he's decently priced across the board. And don't let that $14 price tag on Yahoo scare you away. And then, of course, Anthony Rendon and Juan Soto are the guys I really would like to get. But I just have a feeling if they keep waiting on this, someone might be sitting, and it could be a key player, which I'm just that makes me a little more nervous. So we'll get to my crunches shortly once we have that lineup. Our third 7:15 game, again, intriguing pitchers here. You have John Gray going against Steven Matz. There is an 8 implied run total in this game, 3.9 for the Rockies, 4.1 for the Mets. We have, so basically it's a pick'em, 75 degrees there in Citi Field, and a light 6 to 9 mile an hour breeze going out to left. Almost a cross breeze, but I don't think it'll impact things too much. But that is nice for righties going against the lefty Matz. The question is, which Steven Matz are we going to get? Earlier today, we talked about potentially taking Arenado and Story against him as a leverage spot because he's going to be one of the more popular pitchers on this slate. Are you still feeling at least semi-tepid about that one? Or positive?
Yeah, I mean, those two as a mini stack is like the dream against a chalky lefty. So I definitely want to get in some Arenado and Story. I think if I'm making just one lineup or a handful of lineups, I'd be more likely to get over on Matz right now than the Rockies bats. Right now, I have Matz at, let's see, I'm at 38%. Okay. So he'll be in somewhere within 10% of that once I finish my final crunch. So he's another one I don't want to take a major stand on tonight. If you like the Rockies bats and think this is bad chalk, you should be playing a lot of Rockies, of course, especially when you've got some guys. You're not getting a discount on Arenado and Story, which is nice. So you're going to have to pay up to get that leverage. But if it does work out, you are crushing half the field, and you're giving yourself a really good chance. Same thing with Blackman at 5,200. Gray, he's another one that I didn't really get to. 10-3. I like Gray. I don't love that it's 3 out of 4 lefties to start. Decent implied total against him. Decent hitting weather here. I know Citi Field isn't great for hitting or anything like that, but just not getting to a ton of Gray, like I said a couple times. If I'm getting to this top tier above 10K on DraftKings, it's going to be a lot of Max Scherzer. So this is another one where not going to have a ton of bats on either side.
All right. Let's see. I just went ahead and am focusing on the two high-end Rockies hitters from that standpoint, but I'll take what I can get. Let's see. Desmond is the other guy we mentioned earlier today that surprised me how high of an isolated power that he had there for against lefties since the beginning of last season. I think if I remember, it was like 225 or something, and I said I thought it'd be closer to like 170. So again, that's ambivalent of if it's Coors Field, which is going to goose it somewhat, but that was still a little bit higher than I was expecting to see. Now, it was more fun when he was a shortstop and playing for the Nationals, but he is someone that if you want to put in there, going with Story, Arenado, and Desmond, not a bad way to go. The problem is they're not adjacent to each other. How do you feel about, particularly if you're hand building, when you get guys that skip like that? So they're 3 of 5 batting slots.
So if you're going, so who would be the guys you want to go in?
Story, Arenado, and Desmond.
Yeah, I mean, like if you're doing a 3-man stack and you get those guys, like those guys all are going to project out okay as far as the rest of the other 6 hitters. So I don't have a problem with that really ever. I mean, I'd like to stay away from like a 6, 7, 8 stack if I could, but if it comes up in a crunch, obviously I'm okay with that. I'm not going to catch it. If I am hand building though, I would really like to get in the best parts of every stack if, in a perfect world, but sometimes it's just not, it's not going to be perfect. But if you have a 5-man stack and you can fit in Story, Arenado, Desmond, 2, 4, 6, I have no issue with that whatsoever.
And then how are you feeling about John Gray in this one? He's seemingly a forgotten man. I'm like him a little bit better on Yahoo when you compare him at 37 to Chris Bassett in Texas, where it's 90 degrees and there's a massive run total again, or you're looking at Kikuchi or those are the main direct comparisons for him, or Lester. I think he could be a little bit on the overlooked side. He is coming in at 32% though, so not completely overlooked.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not getting Gray. Like so I got 2 shares of him out of, he was 17% owned, so I was at just over 1% of him. I'm basically only getting 6 pitchers right now, and then not getting much of any of the others, which I'm okay with because I'm getting the bats that I want, which is the most important thing to me. So Gray's just not really making the cut for me tonight. I don't see that changing a bunch by the time we get to lock.
I feel like I'm a little bit gun shy just because of all the good pitchers that seemingly get crushed. So I'm looking to kind of spread things out.
Yeah, we're just going through a rough stretch as far as top pitchers.
Yes, everything is actually independent of prior slates, and it really doesn't matter. But it's that inherent bias that you run into, and you're like, oh, wow. That's where using an optimizer such as Fantasy Cruncher or one of the other tools out there is helpful, because it keeps you honest and doesn't have you picking with your heart.
Takes a lot of the bias out of it. I agree.
Correct. Moving on to game number 4 here, and then of course we have plenty of time. We'll circle back. We'll take questions. We'll talk stacks, etc. But we've got Oakland at Texas. This is the second game of the doubleheader. The guy that's standing out for me is Chris Davis, 14 on DK. Then you have on Yahoo. Then you have a choice between first baseman Matt Olson or Mark Canha. I'm leaning towards Canha, but I think Olson is going to be popular in that lefty-righty matchup. What are your thoughts there if you're trying to choose between Olson and Canha? I think Canha is outfield on DK, but.
Yeah, so on DK, you can fit them both in. If I just had to choose one, I think I would choose Olson for a couple of reasons. First, he has the platoon. Not that it matters against Adrian Sampson in Texas, but I think Olson just has massive power. So all things being the same, I would take the guy higher in the order. If it's even close in terms of their power, their matchup, you want the guy. I would like the guy with the platoon split. So for me, that would be Olson. But luckily, I don't have to make that decision in every lineup, at least on DraftKings, with the outfield eligibility for Canha there.
All right, most definitely. And we just got the Pod Squads lineup in, so we should be getting the Nationals shortly, which will be just fine with me. I did want to point out, and I've said lots of crappy things about Adrian Sampson. In his last 2 starts, he has allowed just 4 runs in 12 innings. Now, he also has allowed only 1 walk, which is good. Of course, 16 hits, not good. But somehow he's stumbled into 17 strikeouts. Heck, he had 11 against Kansas City. In the game prior to the Kansas City game, let's see, he had 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. He had 16 in the 5 games prior to that. So I think that was what we call an outlier or an anomaly here. And I'm perfectly fine going against Sampson. I have actually taken him out of my DK player pool. I just don't want to go there. Is that, do you think, a reasonable take going against Oakland, who has a lot of power? They have some strikeouts, but they have a lot of power, and we have just a phenomenal hitting weather matchup here.
Yeah.
There was a question in there somewhere. How are you feeling about Sampson?
I was reading the chat. They were judging us for our drink of choice, I suppose, or something's going on. I can't keep up with the YouTube chat.
Yes, I am drinking Diet Pepsi. I do not have. We said this on, or I said this on the last show. I don't like soda. Or were you on it with me? I don't like soda and booze mixed. It tastes bad to me. I like vodka Collins. We had this conversation, right?
I think we did. I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago.
Oh yeah, it was when I was serenading you with Old Town Road.
Yeah. That might have been last year.
That was last week. Yeah.
This is an omission ale lager, the yellow label.
If I had known you were going to have a beer, I would have brought a beer up here.
Oh man, it's a Friday, Saturday show. Yeah, I always do. Not always, but when I remember. So anyways, going back to this game, more important things. Yeah, I think the Sampson game was more of an outlier than anything. He falls into the category of a guy that I'm not really getting to. Looks like a pretty normal lineup for Oakland. Not any major changes for the doubleheader, which is nice. Fegley came in relief for Nick Hundley, who's going to the DL. I don't know what the deal is going to be with Fegley, if he's going to catch this whole game. That seems like quite a big workload in less than 24 hours for a guy. But we'll see. I know they brought up a AAA guy or something. So just be aware of that. Oakland is my second favorite stack behind the Dodgers against Sampson in this heat. And oddly enough, the guy that I am most overweight on right now, and I'm kind of excited if this sticks, is Bassett. So he's one of my highest.
Talk to me. I'm curious. I liked him. I believe he played Sunday afternoon last week, and I had him. What are you thinking with the Bassett hound?
Yeah, so I know he's had a real rough stretch here, but for the first 5 starts of the season, he was a really solid pitcher, and he had easier matchups. He had one against Texas, he had Toronto and their Cincinnati when they were struggling, Detroit, but he kind of did exactly what you would like a quality pitcher to do: 7-9, 6-9, and 7 strikeouts. And then he even had 6 in the game after that in Cleveland. 2 really tough matchups in a row. In terms of strikeout for the Angels that he had 2 starts ago, and then last outing versus Houston. But he still was able to go 5 and 6 innings in those. So I'm just finding a lot of positives with Bassett. He projects pretty well. He's shown that he can go deep in games when things are going well. And this Texas lineup does not look all that appealing to me. You've got, as Adam likes to so lovingly put it, Jeff Mathis, the worst hitter in baseball history, in there as well.
I don't think he's wrong. I don't think he's wrong.
Yeah, he's pretty bad. I think like a 51 WRC plus or something for his career. Like very, very bad. But yeah, I do like Bassett. He's kind of my favorite guy that's not named Steven Matz in this range.
All right, so let's see. Oh, I've got $3 extra on this lineup. You know what? I'm gonna let it ride. It'll be unique that way. Let me see here. I wanted to see what happened in that Toronto game. How did Greinke do? Since he pitches so poorly in the Rogers Center.
Did he do okay? I haven't even looked.
I haven't either. It just occurred to me. Now I'm looking because I'm curious, because I know our buddy Sean V. The Sean V T-shirt will be in effect tomorrow for those of you that want to watch Josh Engelman put his hands over his face and just shake his head.
Might kick you out of the stream.
That is always a possibility, because he's not afraid to go solo. Oh, he got a shutout.
Okay.
Let's see. He went six shutout innings, allowed 6 base runners, and 7 strikeouts. Aaron did not treat us well, Jake.
Yeah, he didn't. That's all right. It's a new slate. It's daily fantasy, right?
To borrow from what is it? The Swolecast. This is a forward-looking show, Adam. It's a forward-looking show.
That's and I'm Jake, by the way.
Damn it! Oh, I did it like 5 times already. You have been polite and not saying anything. Oh, good God! This is
the chat usually catches you. I usually don't.
Yeah, no, I've caught myself twice on this show already, but
that's all good.
It's embarrassing. But hey, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? I don't know. Get your name right. That'd be good for starters. Jesus. Okay. Continuing on here. I can't wait to see what I call Josh tomorrow. Looking forward to that. I should just call you the Snackmeister.
Oh God.
We'll go with that. Something catchy that I can remember. Or the Baseball Savant would be the other way to do it. If you're going to be targeting against one Mr. Bassett, I think your guys... Wow, Shin-Soo Choo. I didn't think he played both these games. He's decent. Anders had himself a game there in the first one. A couple stolen bases. You've got Nomar Mazara batting cleanup in the lefty-righty matchup. He is an intriguing option. Rougned Odor is all right. You like Bassett, but which of the hitters give you a little bit of concern here?
I mean, Mazara is concerning to me. Odor, if he can, make contact with the ball, and then I guess Chu. I don't know that I'm super concerned about Andrews just yet. He hasn't shown me a ton, but like that's the question: is which of these guys concern you outside of the couple of normal ones? By the way, we just got the Nats lineup, so we are
Excellent.
to start crunching out everything if you need to.
All right. Well, I'm still building 3 lineups, but on here on Yahoo, but I was saving the Nationals. So who is out? Oh, good. That's the expected lineup, actually.
I think it is exactly what it was. I think Suzuki and Dozier are just flipped 6 and 7.
Yes. Yeah. So there we go. So that's a nice one, actually. So good on them. That'll help out because I definitely wanted to roll with them. I was looking last night when I was writing up the Spotlight Hitters and Stacks article. I was trying to figure out which team I wanted to go with. Ultimately, I talked about the Mariners, which now I'm sad a little bit because the Beckham and Murphy are not in the lineup. Now, again, we expected Murphy to not be in there, but I think that's going to push the Nats ahead of them for me. But I'll drop that link in the chat. And by the way, third paragraph there, you can find out how to use the link and the promo code AWESEMO to get $30 matched of your first initial DFS deposit in Yahoo Sports rewards points. And those are just as good as cash. They're available for immediate use into any contest. And they are running this management fee free contest, and they usually spawn that contest shortly after lock the night before. So keep your eye out on that one. Let me see here. Yes, I'm going to do a national stack here, I believe. What do you want to do here in our next game? So let me tee you up on that. And now my screen is not changing. Good God, it's frozen. Can you still hear me at least?
I can hear you.
All right, that's good.
Is Bassett out? Who's saying that? Why would Bassett be out?
Mr. Smith, are you looking at the Matrix? Can you give us... We got to cite this stuff. So unless you cite it by dropping a link in the chat to a reputable?
I don't think you can drop links in the chat unless you're
oh, no.
an admin.
Oh, there we go. But I will now take time to look and see if we got any news on that. I am not seeing anything, at least on Twitter, with just a general search. So if anybody has actual information on that, please do let us know. Yeah. Yep. Now I could see maybe somebody being confused because of the doubleheader and the site's not really sure who was going to be starting. But as of 30 minutes ago, he is in the lineup. So there we go. You know what's funny about on Twitter? If you start searching basketball players, oftentimes some of the French or Spanish accounts will actually have the news first.
Really?
So you got to use Google Translator. But I've learned that when they come up, just throw them into the translator and see what they're saying. I don't know how that works. Maybe they're not as worried about double sourcing or anything like that. But you sometimes can find a few minutes advantage on that. Now, it's not baseball. I mean, the lineups are out, usually gentleman's agreement 3 hours before the game, that teams submit it, and they generally do a pretty good job of that. But anyway, that is just one little thing I noticed.
That's next level.
Yeah, with basketball. It's pretty easy these days. Pretty easy. Anything else from this second game of the doubleheader?
No, I just want to reiterate that I absolutely love Oakland here. Top 3 stack easily for me, probably closer to 1A if the Dodgers are 1. So, or 1B if the Dodgers are 1A. So, yeah, just absolutely love them here against Samson.
All right, let's go for our 10:07 game. We have 25 minutes until lock. We have the Mariners in Los Angeles, in Anaheim, actually, taking on the Angels. Reminder that the right field fence was lowered from 18 feet to 8 feet at the beginning of last year, and this has made the Angels Park more hitting friendly than it was before. It generally leaned a little bit more towards a pitching park. One, because of the vaunted marine layer that comes in, the cooler air, etc. there in Anaheim, and it's 65 degrees there. But this move with the fence has definitely helped out with some of the home runs. And you can go. I was looking it up today, and I ran across. I don't forget if it was MLB TV or .com or if it was some ESPN show, but they were breaking it down and talking about it. So I kind of watched that for a little bit because this was from last year, but it was just interesting to hear their thoughts. So it has changed things somewhat. Kikuchi, yeah, he's okay. I don't have much else to say. I don't hate him on the Mariners. My favorite team, my team growing up. But I'm not really getting to him this evening. The Angels on the other side with Dylan Peters, I'm not really excited about him, which is where I came into the Mariners stack. And what I wanted to talk about here with Peters is just he was drafted by the Marlins 5 years ago in the 10th round of the 2014 draft after 2 solid seasons with the University of Texas. Mucked around on the farm system with above average strikeout stuff, but below average command. So sort of the Nuke Lelouch approach of things. The Angels traded for him last year. They thought they were going to use him in his bullpen, but with everybody being dinged up, he's pressed into duty here as a starter. He's up from AAA Sacramento Salt Lake, as we learned today, Jake. They're the Bees.
Yes,
they're the Bees. Sacramento is the River Cats, if you wanted to know. Again, I know a lot of these minor league teams. I have no idea why. But in any case, one of the Mariners franchises, I think, was the Minnesota Timber Rattlers or something like that. Very odd name. I don't know what a Timber Rattler is. I'm assuming it's some sort of snake. But I'm disappointed here. We've got Edwin Encarnacion. I like that. Domingo Santana, not really where I wanted him to be in the batting order. And then I'm just kind of sad because it's hard to connect. Santana's where I want him to be. It's hard to connect anybody with those two because you drop all the way down to Mac Williamson before you get to another righty in this one. So my love for the Mariners is somewhat tempered. How are you approaching the M's and Kikuchi? And then we'll talk about the Halos.
Not really playing Kikuchi. I am playing Dylan Peters. He's kind of the last guy that's making his way into lineups for me on the upper half of the pitching slate tonight. So got to like 15% of Peters. We'll see where I end up on this last crunch. But yeah, I think he's just got way better strikeout upside in this matchup against the Mariners. They're top 4 in the MLB and strikeouts versus lefties, whereas the Angels just don't strike out against either hand. So Kikuchi, tough for me to get behind here. He projects out really poorly, even at 5,900, which is kind of tough to do. That just goes to show how much the Angels just do not strike out. Someone was asking about an Angels stack earlier in chat. I really like the Angels stack. 5.2 implied total. You get Trout, Ohtani. They're never my favorite team to stack, but when you have a $3,300 catcher batting 5th, we both like Puello, who's at 4,100. And then La Stella, I think, is, he's leading off, but he's lefty-lefty. I don't think that's a guy a lot of people are going to play when you've got some cheaper leadoff hitters like McNeil and some of these other guys, Semien as well. So, yeah, I kind of like how this stack sets up. Trout and Ohtani are 2 of my highest exposed hitters on the slate.
All right. We are on to the final game here. We still have 20 minutes, 20 minutes before lock. Reminder, it's a 7:15 lock tonight with Fox Saturday Baseball. We've got Max Scherzer going against the Pod Squad. The Padres have a 3.3 implied run total. Scherzer is amazing with strikeouts. Padres are offering up some solid strikeout opportunities here. You have a weak hitting Greg Garcia leading off, and Eric Hosmer 4th, and Naylor 6th. Those are the lefties. In general, that's what Scherzer will probably give up a home run today, but that's ideally about all. We saw him in his last start wave off the manager and the bullpen and said, nah, can't trust the bullpen. I'm going to bring this one home myself. I'm thinking Scherzer should be good for 7 innings tonight. He's going to go 100, 110 pitches pretty well, and I hope that gets him there. But there's always a risk with the Nationals bullpen coming into play here. Talk to me about Scherzer and your overall percentages with him.
Yeah, Scherzer's just outrageous. I mean, striking out nearly 40% of righties, 0.88 whip to them. I think a pretty favorable matchup. Greg Garcia, if that's one of your lefties in the lineup, like, please bring out all the Greg Garcia versus Scherzer. Not a guy with big power or anything like that. Kinsler, Hedges, Lauer at the bottom. I just don't think Scherzer's going to have a tough time getting strikeouts. So again, if I'm going up to this top range, Scherzer's going to be my guy for 12K. I got to, a little under the field. I think he's still around 50%, right? So not going to quite get there, but like I think in the 40% range is kind of where I'll be on Mad Max here. It's just a good strikeout matchup. 12K is not a price I'm concerned about paying if I'm going to some cheaper bats.
And that definitely makes some sense here. On the other side, Eric Lauer, no thank you, not against this Nationals team, which is pretty good against lefties, particularly Rendon. Soto has just been phenomenal in his year plus up here in the show in lefty-lefty matchups. Howie Kendrick, still a serviceable hitter. I don't know that I really want to pay his salary. But Brian Dozier, again, we've mentioned, relatively discounted. Kurt Suzuki, excellent against lefties. Sort of a skill set he picked up after he left the Mariners about 5 years ago. He's banged around a little bit with the Atlanta. I think he was with Minnesota for a while. Now he's with the Nats. But he's somebody I like against lefties. And then Victor Robles does have some speed. He is kind of their next better prospect, but he's got some catching up to do there with Soto. What do you want to do here with the Nats?
I would like to play more of them, but like if I'm playing three other teams that are more expensive or around the same price and have higher implied totals, like the Dodgers, like Oakland that I mentioned, the Angels as well, it's just going to be tough for me to get to a lot of Nationals. So I'd be kind of kicking myself if they do go off, because I think there's a pretty good chance against overpriced Eric Lauer here, and they are overpriced. So I love playing stacks like that on DraftKings, especially because people take the top pitchers. But yeah, I guess Rendon really sticks out. Turner sticks out. And then I like Soto quite a bit for under 5K, even lefty-lefty. He's shown no problems hitting lefties in his brief career, but I would expect that to continue. So yeah, it's they're going to be more two-man and so one-offs for me than anything, these Nats.
All right. Let's see. We've got 17 minutes, so definitely keep your eye on the ball, gamers here. Let's see. I'm going to start putting my projections into Fantasy Cruncher here and downloading it. I do have Fantasy Cruncher Pro, which does give me the Osmo popularity ratings of all the hitters automatically. You just have to refresh Fantasy Cruncher and those come right on in as they've been updated. So that is helpful, but I got to pull in some projections here. What are you focusing on tonight? Or is it a mini-max night for you?
Yeah, it looks like that's not going to fill. If there was a $10 tonight, I'd probably play it, or like an $8, just because I feel like I want to play more. I want to get more into those high-stakes tournaments now that these other sports are slowing down. There's obviously no NHL tonight, so I feel very, very focused on baseball. But yeah, I am looking to try to get more volume. It's just really tough on DraftKings, especially trying to get in that mid tier. Like there's nothing to 150 between $1 and 15. So that's kind of tough for someone who wants to play a bunch of lineups like me. So that's why you go play on Yahoo and you play the 10 lineups and you play the $3 rake free tournament.
Yes. One of the things I do like is Yahoo, even though it's a little slower to build. You get to put some.
You can press the enter key and it takes the top guy.
Yes. So if you type in the name, well, I normally I do that, but I didn't run crunches because I didn't have the right lineups in yet. So I'm putting in my last one here. Oh, let's go with Paul. Double DeYoung. There we go. All right, Yahoo done. Focus here on getting some DK action going. You mentioned potential overlay there in the minimax. Where's that filling at right now? Oh my gosh, 10,000 spots left?
It's not even close, yeah. So I think the early one overlay too. I don't know. Are we missing something? Like the Belmont, of course.
That's the only thing I can think of that's going on right now that would take people away from it.
But yeah, I don't remember it being this big. Like I remember it being like 25K total on Saturdays for the main slate at least. But yeah, I mean, I'll take the overlay, but I wish they would have made it smaller so they could open up another tournament. Like I'd rather just play another 150 in a smaller mini max.
Yeah. Now here's a little trick. You guys can't see it, but on the Osmo projections, which is fun, there's a little over on the right. There's a little thing called columns. If you click on that, you can then hide the columns you don't want to have. You can click on the copy button and just keep names and projections. And I'm going to upload that right to Cruncher. So this is nowhere near as laborious as it used to be for me.
Yeah, super helpful when you're just trying to get a quick look at things, especially Or if you just upload those straight to FC, then it doesn't get much easier than that. Just remove the columns you don't need, player name, point value, or the point projection, and you are good to go right into Fantasy Cruncher. You obviously got the ownership from Osmo himself, his actual projections for ownership, which are best in the business, of course. Those are right on FC Pro, so just another reason to think about getting FC Pro if you haven't kind of made that jump already.
Yeah, it just saves a little time, and where it's really going to be helpful is basketball, where things tend to change quite a bit throughout the stuff. All right, got that set up. Let's go see how many lineups I need to crunch. I did find a little bit of overlay there on FanDuel for the afternoon slate, because they keep setting their default screen to whatever their quote main slate is, so that's what people see. So I went back and got into a couple smaller contests, and knock on wood, before we came on air, I was winning the mini slam. But it's still the slam. Oh, I'm still winning at the moment. So I am first there. I'm first in the stolen base. And I'm winning I'm winning four ridiculous rally tickets. So there you go, 29 into 210 right now. Now there's still some innings remaining, but there's a little bit of a fun one, Jake.
That's nice. Yeah. No, those tickets, those paid off huge for me. I won a bunch of those $25 tickets. They're basically giving them away for free when they run these huge tournaments. And I turned, $1,500 worth of tickets into $2,500. So I profited $1,000. And then even more when you add in how much money I actually paid for the amount I actually got in tickets. So, go try to win if you're a smaller stakes player, or even if you're a bigger stakes player, and you can see the small quarter and 10-cent tickets. Like if you MME, throw your lineups in there, because it's just a way easier way to get exposure to some of these huge tourneys without spending a ton of money.
Yeah, the funny thing is those their quarter and 10-cent ones were going off at half filled, and so I just put one lineup. I built one lineup and just pounded it into everything. I literally built a lineup with 4 minutes left on the clock, and I'm lucking out. We were talking about it in the Slack chat. Do we, because we have a lot of people that play different styles, and some like 3-max, and some like to focus on the quints, and others like to work through hand building, etc. And I was saying, I used to really be a hand build player back in the day, but over the last year or so, I've gone more to the mass multi-entry. Now I'm still playing about the same dollar amount, but I've just gone down in buy-in levels, and it's made things, it's made life a lot more fun for me, because winning, as Crash Davis, or pardon me, as Nuke Lelouch said, is better than losing. True story.
I confirm that winning is definitely better than losing. I will 100% back you on that take. So yeah, so this is something you can read about in the diversification primer on the website on osmo.com. If you just go to the Learn DFS tab and go to Osmo Explains Diversifying Lineups, that is one of the most helpful articles you can read on the site. It's my favorite on the site. He talks about how you should be maxing every tournament you can. So whether that's the 10-cent time or the quarter arcade, or a few of those, and you get up to whatever your $100 in play every single day. But you should be maxing tournaments and diversifying correctly, and you can grow your bankroll in a shorter amount of time while eliminating as much risk as you might have if you're just making one lineup every single night and putting it in a bunch of different tournaments.
Yeah, and it's all about giving yourself the more chances to win, and mitigating the risk there. All right, let's do crunch number 1 here. I didn't get in nearly as many contests as I am, so I'm probably going to play 240 lineups tonight. I will run 80 of 4-4s, 80 of 5-3s, and 80 of 5-0s, and then whatever I have left, I may just focus on some specific stacks here, since I didn't have time to tweak things like I normally would have. What I like to do is I like to play a bunch of the smaller contests on Yahoo on DK triple ups, double ups, quints, winner take alls, the ticket contests, etc. in the dollar and quarter range. Again, I'll play about $200 a slate, but it does let me have a little bit more fun and a few more chances to win. And if you have a bad night, it's usually not devastating like it can be if you only have a handful of lineups. So
sure.
it all depends on your style. I do like the classic hand building now. Well, that's what I was doing obviously on Yahoo as we were on air here, and I did the same thing on FanDuel. And usually when I'm only playing on those sites, I play 10 on Yahoo, and then I just play a couple lineups on FanDuel if I'm going to play. So my thought there is just more have fun, focus on who you're playing, get the key guys in, and it's more enjoyable for me. But on DK, where I play a bunch of lineups, I definitely utilize the fantasy cruncher a lot. A lot of us here do.
I think everyone basically does. I think it's just an absolute must if you're trying to get serious about grinding out a profit at whatever stakes you're playing. I mean, not every pro, but I think the overwhelming majority of pros use fantasy cruncher in some form or fashion, and there's a reason for it. It's because it's the best out there, I think.
Yeah, it most definitely is by far. So now, different than what you guys do. So your process is, you explain a little bit, since we get a lot of new viewers here that don't always catch our daytime shows. Explain how you and Adam and Josh create more lineups than you're actually going to use.
Yeah, so I created 600 lineups tonight. That's pretty standard for any size slate. And what I do is I cap guys super low. Based on how they are projected. Osmo talked about this in the Fantasy Crunch with Chris Brandone a few weeks ago. Let's go back and look at those videos. No Ramirez is starting instead of Peters. Peters probably coming in as a long
That's
relief.
fine. He was called up, so he's going to play today. But the Angels have been mucking around with openers, so that's not a complete shock. But he'll probably just take those first three to five batters, however long he can last.
So what I'm doing is basically capping everyone really low, a derivative of their projection. So on a slate like tonight, maybe you go 1-2 times their projection. So for DraftKings, so I'm getting like Scherzer's the highest guy that Cruncher will allow me to get to. I'm running stacks, different types of stacks, and I'm trying to get a really diverse portfolio. And you're going to get a lot of bad lineups, so you could delete the bottom. You can delete the bottom half. You can delete the highest owned lineups, which is where FC Pro comes in hand. You get the ownership right on the page with your lineup.
Is that how you guys do it?
You can do that. I just have a VLOOKUP in my sheet. Okay. So I paste everything. I export it from Fantasy Cruncher. I VLOOK up the ownership projection, the leverage that I'm getting based on the opposing pitcher's ownership, and of course the projection. And I'm trying to balance between that to try to get a group of 150 really sound lineups. So like when you guys see me crunch on Monday night and Tuesday and Thursday this week, you'll see like today my highest exposed hitter is Mike Trout. On the actual crunch, 22%, and it goes down to 19 and 19, 18, 18, 16. But in reality, when I filter out my lineups and I get the 150 that I want to get to, my exposures, I just made a little exposure tab in DK, my DK exposure tab in my Excel sheet. My highest exposed hitter is Trout, but it's at 35%. So still reasonable. I don't want 80% Trout because I don't want 80% of any hitter. That's not a 2-game slate. But you're just, and I'm going to get way lower of teams that project high if their ownership is really high as well. So that's kind of how I do it. It's tough to explain, but Alex does a really good job talking about getting a balance between projection and ownership, because you want to find a good middle ground. Anyone can play the top projected lineups, the top projected stacks, but that's not an optimal strategy in a sport like baseball long term.
All right, so we have some. It's not going to overlay, but there's going to be room in it. So they're actually going to rake the tournament a little bit here for the mini-max. But as of right now, there are still 6,000 spots. I'm guessing this will go off with maybe 2,000 spots left, because probably most of the people that are going to do the 150 are already in there. So I am going to have some fun tonight and do I'm going to do 20 lineups in this. Normally, because I don't like the payout structure, I usually do 5, but I'm going to do 20 tonight. So let's have some fun. So let me download these new 15 lineups that I'm going to put in here. And
Yep.
this is how you get a little bit of an edge. Now it worked out for me today, or it's working out. Knock on wood. Still got some innings to go here on Yahoo. But this is how you can get yourself in a better position to not have to worry as much about what's going on with rake. You get a little bit better return on your dollar. You still have to cash. Okay, that part doesn't do it for you, but there's inherent or implied value when these contests are not filling up. Now you'll hear a lot of people say there's overlay. Overlay means that they're paying out more than they're bringing in. So remember, they're raking this at what, 15 or 16%. So it's going to get within probably 93% full would be my guess. So they're actually still making, 8% or so, but they're not making their full 15, 16%. So that's
Yeah.
just how to think of that.
Yeah. So the minimax is raked at what, 15.97, so call it 16%. But maybe tonight it's only raked at 10%. That's a huge difference. Like, it doesn't seem like a lot, but over the long term, you can get in that tournament when it's like that and not when it's fully filled. That's where it makes more sense to put in a handful of lineups rather than max everything, which is what you'd like to do. You'd like to be able to max everything, but you could still play 20 lineups in the $1 while still playing the 20 in the quarter and the dime and the solo shot as well.
Oh, you're speaking my language there, Jake. That's how I do. You've seen what I do. It works out. You grind your way up. I'm up like $6,000 this year. So not bad. So it's about $1,000 a month. I had a couple good hits in there, but that does help out, and you just steadily go up. Now I've plateaued like for the last month. But I did all the DK missions and all their little milestones, and I made the black tier. So that is worth about $500 in DK dollars. You just have to go claim them each day. But if you're not getting to black or platinum, hold on to your milestone points. They last up until 30 days past the last day of the regular season. So if you didn't claim your basketball or your NHL, those have expired now. But if you do something like golf or baseball, it'll last for a long time, and then you'll get that little bleed into football. So you can, if you save them up, you can get yourself up into one of those higher categories, and it's definitely worth it. Because like last month I was in, I don't remember, gold or whatever, because they don't give you you don't get points anymore if you play anything less than $1, which is where about half my stuff is. So, instead of just getting a baseline of 5,000 points a month, I get like 1,500, and it's not as helpful. But I was in gold, so you're getting like 10 crowns a day or a 25-cent ticket. It's kind of pointless in my opinion. But I'm still doing it. Still click on it because hey, it's free. You've earned it. Grab it.
Might as well.
Let's see. Lauer Lester combo. Okay, I think you're okay, but I think you're playing with fire there. Matt Pro.
I'd go Bassett than Lauer.
Yeah, I would. Lauer's not against this Nationals team. Let's see. No Ramirez starting. We got that one. Angels pitching is garbage all the way around. Yeah, they're a little thin. They are a little thin. T-Nib. Geez, Emac, you're a baseball stud. No, there are times where things don't go well. There are definitely a lot of times where things don't go well. But transparency. I'm transparent. I have profited every year but one. So I've profited 7 of my 8 years. If I don't screw it up this year, it'll be 8 of 9. And that's something a lot of people can't say. Now, there's only been a couple years where I've been into the 5-figure range, but most of the years it's between $3,000 and $7,000. So that's not bad doing something you like. I generally have to deposit 1, maybe 2 times a year, and I usually withdraw 2 or 3 times. So I don't churn my account that often. It lets me know where I'm at, because if you keep depositing and taking money out and depositing, you lose track of where you are. And this way, like my DK account's up to about $8,000 right now. Well, when I started this year, it was at 2,800. So I know about how much I've made, because for whatever reason, I cannot download my results from DK. So I have to email them and ask them for it. And then it's a whole rigmarole, because then they're like, well, you should just be able to do this. I'm like, dude, for the last 4 years, I have not been able to download it. Doesn't matter what computer, what firewall, work, home, whatever. I can't download them. It just doesn't do anything. I can download every other site, which is frustrating. But that way I can keep track of where I'm at. So just long story short, that is one way of doing it. But I think for a lot of people that, put in 30 and then lose a bunch and then take out and then put in 100 and then the next day they take out $80 even though they didn't play, you lose track of what you're really doing. That's what they want you to do. They want everybody to think, oh yeah, I'm about break even. Go look at the numbers. 10% of the people win on this. I would say 20% are within a reasonable quote break even amount, and that's it. So that leaves 80% of the people that are not winning. Don't be in that 80%. We give you all the tools you need how to avoid that. The other thing I know people complain, tout sites are so expensive and they don't do anything for us and all that. Would you try to go on a big fly fishing trip up in Montana without learning how to fly fish? Probably not. Would you go on a ski trip, save up all your money and go to Vail without knowing how to ski? Probably not. That's what DFS is. It's a hobby. It's entertainment. So arm yourselves appropriately.
That's exactly right. As you're saying that, another thing that you should think about doing is play the niche slates. We talk about niche sports, niche slates. There's a 2-gamer tonight, and yeah, it's not always glamorous max entering a 2-gamer, but I'm doing that right now. We've got all the information we need. We have ownership projections on the site. It's just like a normal slate. You can reach your goal faster if you play more slates.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, use the leverage. This is the one thing that Tom has taught us. That's Tom JK. He's up to number 6 in gamers on that one orange and blue site that does some rankings there. Roto Grinders, I can say that. That's where I started out. I was the 6th ever host on air. I was the first weekend host. Me and Warren Kasoy. He started out. He was 18 years old, Jake. He was even younger than you. He was finishing up his senior year in high school before he went to university there in Canada. So no matter what, I always seem to get the young guys here. You know what? You need the steady hand here, the presence, the charisma, perhaps. Good looks may not be there anymore if they ever were, but you know what, you never know what you're going to get with me, which is entertaining as hell. And even my wife says when I can hear the shows and I hear you getting animated, it makes me laugh.
Exactly.
It's like I have no idea what you're talking about, but it makes me laugh. So she's the one that made the Sean V What Would Sean V Do t-shirt, which will be appearing again tomorrow. So we'll have some fun with that. Anything else, Jake? I know we have hockey tomorrow. We got single day PGA. We had MMA, I think, is already locked, but we've got content for that. We have WNBA, though randomly I heard DK canceled their WNBA slate. I don't know how you do that, short of a game getting canceled or something. It seems a little odd. But hey, you know what? These, DK's been around for 8 years, and they're still, what is the technical term? Oh yeah, fucking up constantly. But there you go. Now you know how I feel about them. But nonetheless, that's the hand we've been dealt. We play with them, but we do have alternatives. So Yahoo, once again, that contest is going to pop here in the next 10 minutes or so for their management fee free tournament. I'm going to drop in the Spotlight hitters and stacks article, hitters and stacks article. I do have some late slate recommendations here. It was the Mariners. Flip it, because 2 of the 5 guys I liked are not in the lineup. Go with the Nationals. Any of the Nationals righties along with Soto would be where I would go. But in the 3rd paragraph of this article are the link and instructions on how to claim your initial deposit bonus there for that. You think EMAC got dumped? How did I get dumped?
What do you mean?
I don't know. That's what Slack says, or YouTube
No,
channel.
that's like, I don't know if he means what you think.
No,
but he's good friend of the show, so that's
good.
He's not trolling you. Don't worry.
Oh, okay. Well, first I thought I'm not on air anymore. Well, if I'm not on air, then it means you're not on air anymore.
We're good.
But I think we're good. So anyway, reminder: new time for the baseball show tomorrow. It will be at noon with myself and Josh Engelman taking you up to lock, covering the main slate. And then, of course, I will do the 5-minute blitz at the end talking about the afternoon slate. I'll be in premium Slack for office hours at 3 o'clock tomorrow, covering whatever we want to talk about. But we've been doing a lot of fun building some lineups and hand building some lineups on all 3 of the main sites. and it's been a lot of fun, and they've been cashing nicely, and then or they don't. But we're talking about how to utilize that leverage. Coming back to what Tom does. The other night, usually I'll put in $5 or $10 in the dollars or the quarter contest on these short slates. The other night I had $5 into 85. I hit everything, and I run a solid, a heavy core on the fantasy cruncher. I use one unique, and I use 25% classic randomness, so I get a tight grouping of players. So when it hits, it does well. But then I don't always go with the feel good players. You can still get different. You just don't be stupid, but don't follow if you're building one lineup and you're going to feel like the chalk is what you're going to end up on, you're not going to cash. You're not even going to min cash. So don't do that. Pick at least 2 spots to be different. That can be hitters. That can be a couple hitters going against the popular pitcher. And don't be afraid to play a hitter or 2 against your guys, especially on these 2-game or 3-game slates. You've got 4 pitchers. We got to play 2 of them, Jake. We're going to take some hitters against our guys. Now, if you're taking more than 2, that's probably going to be an issue.
I think 2 is the right number on a 2-game slate.
2 will get it done. 2 will get it done. All right, gamers. With that, we are going to dip on out of here. You can follow Jake at Jake Hari on Twitter. I am at EMACDFS. And, of course, it is Osmo_COM. Check out the pin tweet. We're doing contests, free giveaways, 3 premium months. I haven't seen the question for the Monday's game, but check that out. It'll be the pin tweet. All you got to do is answer the question and retweet, and you will be in the contest. If there are ties, like last game 3 was combined points by Curry and Kawhi Leonard. Game 2 was what is Toronto going to score. Game 1 was what is the total combined team score. If it's a tie, don't pick halves because that doesn't count. You're just going to be tossed immediately. If it's a tie, you guys go into a random drawing. So you've got a chance here for 3 premium months. Go for it. It's fun. And just keep nibbling away at this stuff. And as long as you put yourself in a position to succeed, you will be able to. You will be able to, or at least have the opportunity. And that's what is missing so often in DFS. So with that, gamers, those words of wisdom from the aging one, your old pal EMAC, good luck.